Hey everybody, Matt here with Halloween Daily News. I hope you're all doing well. I'm excited today to bring you another brand new interview. I just had an amazing conversation with the very awesome Sandy Johnson. You, of course, know her as the one that started it all, playing Michael Myers' first ever victim, his older sister Judith Myers, in John Carpenter's 1978 classic Halloween. After that landmark film, she stepped away from the spotlight for 4 decades before returning to the Halloween franchise family in a big way in 2018. We talked about all that and much more, including her appearance in Playboy as Playmate of the Month in June 1974, and of course, her own memories of celebrating Halloween itself. So here it is, guys, my exclusive new interview with Sandy Johnson. I hope you enjoy it. Sandy, thank you for being here and talking to me today. I've wanted to interview you for years, and so this is definitely a thrill and an honor for me. I wanted to start off. It's obviously it's been a crazy year for everybody. So I just want to ask, how are you doing, and how have you fared through this pandemic and the last 12 months?
I'm doing fine. Um, I'm lonely. I'm ready for family and friends and
Yeah,
hugs and cons and all of those things, parties.
yeah.
But other than that, I'm fine. I know that there's light at the end of the tunnel, so all is good.
Excellent, excellent. And like I said, I think you've got a really interesting, amazing story, and I want to cover as much of it as we can today. Um, but before we even get to the Halloween movie or to Playboy or any of that, I'd like to go further back. I understand you grew up in Texas, and I wanted to ask, did you celebrate Halloween as a kid, and was that something that you and your family were into growing up in Texas?
Absolutely. Halloween was a really big event for me because my sisters would take me out trick or treating even when I was very little. So I definitely look forward to that. And I remember one year it fell on a Sunday, and so they celebrated it on both Saturday and Sunday. And it was like the bonus of my life. I got to trick or treat two nights in a row. So yes, we did. We decorated everything, and yeah, we always loved Halloween.
Awesome, awesome. What's your favorite Halloween candy? Do you have a favorite Halloween candy?
Ooh, um, probably probably candy corn, I guess.
Mm-hmm. Classic. You can't go wrong there. Awesome, awesome. And obviously now Halloween, the holiday in the season, I know has taken on a whole new meaning for you in your life. But we'll get to that in just a minute. Um, so that's awesome that Halloween was important to you growing up, as it is to all of us here at Halloween Daily News, of course. So so you grew up in Texas. Um, Tell me, how did you become Playboy's Playmate of the Month, June 1974?
Well, I was a model before that. I was
Okay.
a clothes model, and I did runway modeling and things like that. And then my dad got very sick with cancer, and we needed money for his treatment. And I realized that I was working at like fast food, and that wasn't going to get the money we needed. So a friend of mine said, "Well, maybe you should apply to Playboy." So I said, okay. So I did, and they selected me. So I was very lucky, and I did make enough money to help get some meds for my father.
Oh, wow. Excellent. Excellent. And was that overall a positive experience for you? You said you'd done some modeling. Was that just like a one shoot, or did you go, did they do numerous shoots with you, or how did that work?
Yes, it was very positive. I thoroughly enjoyed it. We did photo shoots not only in LA, but we also went to Chicago and did some in the mansion there. I got to stay there for several days, which was just so much fun.
Oh, wow.
I also did a Sonny and Cher show as a Playmate. I did lots of, conventions and store openings and all of that. And plus I got to work with really great photographers. So yeah, it was a wonderful experience.
Excellent. Excellent. Awesome. And so you were living in LA at that point. You had relocated. At what point did you move from Texas to Los Angeles?
We moved when I was in middle school.
Okay.
So I
So
was
the
in
family moved.
Texas for like a year and then went to California for the rest of it.
I got you. Okay. Excellent. Now, moving on down, you said you were doing modeling, and how did you first become involved with Halloween 1978?
I was with an agency, a modeling agency. Uh-oh, I've got incoming cat.
Uh-oh.
Incoming big boy. I was doing, I had done another film, and I was doing some theater and different things. So it was just another call that came in from my agency for a horror movie. And so that's how I got it. My agent just called me and said, they want to interview you. So I went and I interviewed in a house that was close to the Myers house. Might have actually been one of the houses they filmed in, but I'm not real sure. But the house was there somewhere. And they interviewed me. I read several parts. And I think they called, like the next day, they called my agent and said that they wanted me to play Judith.
Oh, wow. So did you know anything as far as the storyline going in, who Judith was in relation to the story, or had you seen the script or anything like that?
No, of course, the script was still very coveted, I'm sure. And I did not know that Michael was going to grow up to be the ultimate slasher.
Sure.
So when I went to the premiere, which was nothing like the premieres today, but it was basically just the cast and some family and crew and stuff. And I was sitting there, and it went to the scenes after my scene, and it was just like, oh my God, this is terrifying. And so it scared the hell out of me. And I really didn't know what was going to happen. So that was actually kind of cool. I'm glad I didn't.
Excellent. Well, that's something else I was going to ask about, what you thought the first time you saw it. But even before that, talking about the shoot itself, because I'm just super curious, obviously being a huge fan of the film, and we've all, watched it a million times, and we watch it every year, at least once every year. Most of our audience does, I think they can relate. And we've all watched that famous opening sequence, not just one of the most famous sequences and moments in the Halloween franchise, but really in horror cinema and cinema at large, and certainly in Halloween lore. So, but on the actual filming of it, so you went to the audition, and then you got word that they wanted you for Judith. So, was it just really soon after that, like days after that you were on set?
Yes, I don't think it was very long, maybe a few days, maybe a week.
Okay.
And yeah, it was pretty quick.
And were you on set just one day, or how long? How many days do you remember?
I think it was just one day. And they were still fixing up the house because it was dilapidated, for most of the movie. And even though my scene is first, it was actually one of the last ones filmed.
Okay.
So they had to fix up the house. So they were, doing things to make the house look new and lived in and all that stuff. At the same time, we were going through the lines and working with John and Deborah just to practice it. It was a really complicated scene, as you know. It was a
Yes.
very long shot all the way from the front of the house, around the house, through the house. The makeout scene, up the stairs. I mean, it was a lot going on.
Yes.
And so we ran through it several times, but we actually only did 2 takes.
Oh, wow. So a lot of rehearsal, I guess, but actual shooting, it was 2 takes and they got it. Wow. Wow, that's amazing. And so, like you said, I mean, one of the most famous sequences with the steady shot, and I interviewed Dean Cundy, the cinematographer, a few years ago, and we talked a lot about that. So you remember the prep and the detail and basically the choreography, I guess you could call it.
I do. And I remember that everybody was talking about that camera. It was a really big deal. It was fairly new, I guess. So everybody was real excited to have that camera on set and to do that really long shot. So it was exciting.
Awesome. Awesome. And do you remember, as far as your performance, any directions that you got at the time? Any direction from Carpenter or that you can recall?
I just remember them telling me they wanted the downstairs scene to just be really playful and fun, and just kind of teasing kind of a situation, nothing heavy. And then, of course, upstairs, they wanted me to just be relaxed and humming and just, you know, what you would do after a 10-second sex scene.
Right.
You know?
Right.
But yeah, so I remember that. I remember that there was Deborah and I think John and maybe just the cameraman there. So it was a little scary waiting for them to get up there, because I was you know, kind of alone, knowing I'm about to be murdered, waiting for all of them to get up there. And so, yeah, it was kind of spooky, but it was fun.
That does sound kind of creepy, actually, literally being alone in the bedroom, waiting for the arrival of your death scene. Now, obviously, like you said, it was only probably the 3 of them on set at that. So was it Deborah doing the stabbing at that time? I know she did Michael's hands in the kitchen. Was that her doing the stabbing in those scenes? Or in that shot?
It was. They didn't want a child in there with that. So yeah, it was just a Deborah, John, and the camera people.
Did you ever meet Will Sandin, who played young Michael Myers? I mean, I'm sure you probably met him since, but I guess I should have asked, did you meet him at that time? I'm
assuming that I did, but it was so long ago.
Yeah.
And I was tired by the time it was over, because we were there all day and then into the night.
Sure.
And I didn't know that it was going to be such an iconic scene and that I would need to remember these things.
I bet.
I wish I could go back and pick up souvenirs and all of that stuff. But
I bet. And how about your co-star David Kyle that played your boyfriend in that first scene? Did you guys get along well?
We did. We had a lot of fun. That's actually the favorite part of the shot. We just had a lot of fun, you know, messing around and talking about how we do it and stuff. We had a good time. And I actually met him at age 40. I think it's the only con he's ever done. And he was right next to me. So it was very cool.
Awesome. Very cool. And of course, the famous line, and that was your voice saying Michael when he comes in. And of course, like you said, you couldn't have known how iconic that moment would be, you know, and literally the first character to speak Michael's name and to let us know who this character is, and nobody knew at the time. But it's become such an iconic moment in, like I said, not just this franchise, but in horror history. So can you tell me a little bit more again about the first time you watched the Halloween '78? When was it, and what was your reaction to the first time you saw the final film?
Like I said, we were in a theater somewhere in Hollywood. It wasn't a famous theater, I don't think.
Okay.
And the cast and crew were there. I think I had a couple friends there, and we just went in and we saw my scene, and of course it was scary to actually see it on a gigantic screen. And then it was just really scary. I remember when Michael escapes and he's in the station wagon and he's on top of it and he breaks the glass. I remember screaming, and it's actually one of my favorite kinds of horror films because it's so much of it is just psychological, not just over the top gore, but it's just creepy, and you just never know what's going to happen. And you didn't know that Michael was not going to be killable. And so it was just, there were so many surprises, and you just didn't know what was going to happen. And so I think that's what I liked the best, is that he just was always like not there, and then he was there and stalking, and just a good film.
Excellent. Yeah, definitely set the standard in so many ways. And you did a few other films after that, including one I think you co-starred with Kirsten Baker, who was in Friday the 13th Part 2. And that's somebody else we got to meet at a convention a few years ago, and she was really awesome. So that was kind of interesting. I guess neither one of you were fully aware of your status as horror queens at the time, but that pretty historic moment. Do you remember working with her?
I do remember working with her. She was very sweet. I liked her a lot. She was just adorable. And that whole movie was just a ton of fun. We had so much fun in the whenever the guys were climbing down around the back and undoing our robes and all the stuff that they were up to. I mean, everybody just had a ball with that whole movie. It was just fun, riding down the road in the convertible, and all the guys coming up to get gas and flirting with them. It was just a fun film.
Awesome. Very cool. Now, at what point, so Halloween comes out and you saw it, and you recognized even then that it was this kind of groundbreaking film in many ways, and like you said, it was your favorite kind of horror. Would you consider yourself a fan of horror in general?
Oh, absolutely. Yes. As a middle schooler, that was what we just did. I mean, all the girls would get together for sleepovers and stuff, and horror movies was what it was all about.
Awesome. I love it. Now, at what point did you realize that this film had truly taken on a life of its own and become a bona fide classic? I mean, I guess you were aware of the sequels when they started making them, but at what point did you know that the film was a classic?
Well, it was kind of interesting because when I left California and started a whole new life as a teacher and other things, I really didn't pay any attention. I was way too busy taking care of kids and writing curriculum and doing all of those things, getting more education. So I really was not aware until about, I don't know, what has it been? It'll be 3 years this summer, when my current agent, Rick Enrique, contacted me and said he'd been looking for me for like 9 years. And I said, why? And he said, because I want you to go to conventions and sign autographs. And I said, why would I do that? And he said, well, don't you know that Halloween is like an iconic film? And I said, not really. And so he was just like, what? So yeah, I got a full education with him that night.
Yeah.
And yeah, so I had no idea. My life had gone a completely different way. And he started filling me in all this on all this stuff. And I'm just like going, wow, this is really interesting. And so he brought me back into the fold.
Amazing. And so you said you left LA. Did you go back to Texas, or where did you relocate to at that point?
When I lost both of my parents to cancer,
Oh,
so I got married and I moved to Oregon, and we
okay.
were there maybe about a year, and I realized I'd made a mistake.
Mm.
And so I ended up getting divorced, and then I did come back to Texas, and my sisters were still here, so I moved in with one of my sisters for a while till I could get a job and get back in school and stuff. And so yeah, I came back to Texas. I'm thinking I was probably around 27, somewhere
Okay.
in there. And I got remarried, made a much better choice the second time. And
Yep.
so we've been together, I don't know, 36 years or something.
Oh, wow. Awesome. Awesome. Excellent. Excellent. And so like you said, you were out of the loop as far as the franchise goes, but even during those years, prior to meeting your agent in 2018, did I mean you would see the film air on TV from time to time, right? Or no?
Not really.
Really?
I was never a television person. I have a PhD, so I spent between getting my undergraduate, my master's, my PhD, and teaching full time. The only media I got to do was read.
I bet, man.
That
Wow,
was it.
man.
So yeah, television was a luxury I did not get to enjoy.
Wow, wow. So, that's just amazing. So, meanwhile, over these 4 decades, the film it just grows and grows in popularity with each year. It becomes this massive franchise. I would say the biggest franchise in horror, and now here comes 2018. They made a new film now, and at what point did you realize, or did you find out they were going to be using footage from your scene in the new 2018 film? Was this before your agent had located you, or how did that all happen?
Well, they had to have my signature in order to use me in the film.
Sure.
So they had been hoping to find me so that they could use that footage for the cemetery scene.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, I had no idea anyone was looking for me. So when he reached out, he said, is it okay if I reach out to Blumhouse and let them know that I found you, because they really wanted to use your footage in the scene? And I said, sure. So it turned out that they were within like 10 days of wrapping up the film. Wow. So if he hadn't found me when he did, I wouldn't have been in the film, because it would have been too late. So it was just one of those things that the timing, everything just fell into place.
Wow, it really does feel like it. Yeah, it just everything happened right at the right time for it all to sync up. And so that was 2018. Like you said, they were just days from locking the final cut, I guess. So then that happens, and you find out that everybody, the fans, have been looking for you for 40 years, basically. And there's this whole convention scene and this massive fandom. And then that they want to use some of your footage in the newest movie. So Pretty amazing. So then I guess the next thing was 40 Years of Terror, which is actually my wife Sue and I, we did meet you briefly there, and you had a lot of fans, a lot going on at that time. And that was your first ever convention appearance, and that has really opened up a whole new world for you, if I understand right. That I know you're making a lot of convention appearances now, not in 2020, obviously, but yeah, maybe you could talk to me a little bit about, I guess, what that first experience was like at 40 Years of Terror in October of 2018.
It was unbelievable. It just, I mean, when we got there, I mean, of course, a lot of people were in costume, and I had never been to anything like that.
Yeah.
So it was just, the visual was crazy. And then, of course, they took me in, and here's this huge banner with me on it. And it's behind my table, and all of these pictures of me are there. And I sat down, and it was just like, oh my gosh, where am I? And Rick said, all right, well, hang on, they're about to open the door. So they opened the door, and it was just like this rush of energy. I mean, the people were just whoosh. And all of a sudden, my line was as far as I could see, and all these smiling faces, and everybody was so nice to me, and they were just so happy to see me. And the whole day was just like, wow, this is just nuts. So I fell in love with the fans. I fell in love with the con, and I fell in love with the rest of the people that were in Halloween. So the whole thing was just like over the top amazing. So when we were done, of course, Rick said, well, what did you think? You think you might want to do it again? And I said, come on, let's go. So the more he can book me up, the happier I am, because when there aren't any cons, I miss the fans.
Yeah.
So I like them. And I actually ended up doing 2 events last year. I did one at the Mahoney Drive-In in Pennsylvania. Okay. And I did another one in Houston at a pop-up market for the Houston Film Fest. So I got to see a few fans last year, which was really nice.
Very cool.
But this year's going to be better.
Yeah, definitely. I think we're all hopeful and looking for a positive 2021 moving forward. So yeah, obviously that opened up a whole nother realm for you with the conventions, and we're like you, we're missing the convention scene, and we love the conventions, and just connecting with, you know, not just Halloween fans, but just like-minded people in general, just people, cool, awesome people from all walks of life that have this love of horror, and in this case Halloween. And you know, it's just so great because it is so many different types of people, but they're all united, and we all have this common passion and love for some of the same things, which is pretty awesome, and something that you don't really find a lot of other places, I think.
No, it was a definite first for me. I was amazed by the energy and the love, and just, I mean, I have new friends that have come out of the horror community, and it's just great. I love it. I'm so glad that it happened, because it's put a lot of excitement back in my old age.
and you mentioned connecting, or I guess reconnecting, or maybe probably connecting for the first time with some of your other co-stars. I've been lucky to interview many of your co-stars from the 78 film and from the sequels, but specifically a ton of people from the 78 film. How has that been, connecting with some of those people? We mentioned David Kyle, you guys reconnected at 40 Years of Terror for the first time, which must have been very special. And like you said, I know he hasn't done another convention that I know of either. But how's that been, connecting with some of the other people like Nick Castle and PJ Souls and people like that?
It's been really great. They have all been so nice to me. I mean, they have just brought me in like as if I hadn't been missing all those years.
That's
And
awesome.
I mean, they hug me just like everybody else when we all get together. And
That's great.
they're super friendly, down to earth, just so nice. So yeah, I definitely look forward to seeing them each time. We're always so busy with signing that I'm always thankful for the photo ops, because it gives us a chance to get together for a few minutes and
Sure.
visit while we're waiting in between the people coming in and stuff. So yeah, they've been wonderful, and I definitely look forward to the next one just to see them all again.
Yeah, it's very cool, and it is cool for me because, again, having gotten to meet a lot of you guys and interview you guys in different at different times over the years, they've all echoed similar things, that it is very much this family atmosphere, that even though we might not see or talk to each other all the time, when we do, it's just like this family, like this fraternity, or this everybody that went to the same high school, Haddonfield High School, I guess, together, and just kind of this awesome reunion. And I know for my wife and I being there at the 40 Years of Terror, that was obviously just a an emotional and landmark moment for us as fans, and to be there around that many people, the largest gathering of Michael Myers actors ever, and just to have people like you and David there who had never ever done a public appearance like that before, it was just amazing. We're hoping there's going to be a 45 Years of Terror in a few years.
That would be good.
We'll be there if at all possible. That's so what did you think? Just a few days after 40 Years of Terror, there was the Hollywood premiere of Halloween 2018, and if I'm not mistaken, I think you attended that, and I assume that was your first time seeing the film.
It was, and it was just nuts. I mean, of course, I was in a limo, and it was like paparazzi. I mean, it was just nuts. We drove up, and they opened the door, and here are all these people with headset, the head things and all that,
Mm-hmm.
and the fans started shouting my name, and it seemed like thousands of flashes were going off. It was just nuts.
Oh man.
And walking down the red carpet, I mean, it was a thrill of a lifetime. I mean, it was just totally incredible. So much fun. And I hope to do it again sometime.
Yeah. Awesome.
And of course, the film, seeing it in the Grauman's Theater, I hadn't been in there for years. It's such a beautiful theater. And sitting there with the cast from both films and watching it on the huge screen. Again, it was a terrifying movie, but a great one. I thoroughly enjoyed it, but very scary.
Yeah,
so, it was. What can I say? Once in a lifetime deal.
Amazing. Yeah, and I was going to ask you that what you thought of the new one, but like you said, terrifying. I think that's
yes.
Sums it up. Do you think they successfully captured some of the spirit of that you felt when you watched the 78 one for the first time? Because you probably haven't seen the sequels, or probably hadn't at that point anyway.
Right. I had not seen them at that point, and I did think that they captured a lot of it pretty well.
Mm-hmm.
And some of the scenes were just wonderful. I love the one where he goes into the trunk and picks up the mask. Love that. And also whenever they're all out at the sanatorium thing and they're all stomping their feet and that whole thing. I mean, all of that, that's the kind of stuff I like. It's that psychological stuff. Sure. And so it had a lot of those elements in it that I thoroughly enjoyed.
Awesome. Yeah, I love the 2018 film as well. What's been, now that you've done quite a few other conventions since then, and again, it's kind of, obviously slowed up in last year, but what's been maybe the most surprising thing that you've experienced meeting all of these fans at these different events since you've been brought back into the Halloween universe?
I would say probably just how loving they are. I mean, they're just the most loving people.
Yeah.
And I don't know, I wasn't expecting that. And so, I mean, most people are nice and stuff. I expected them to be nice, but I didn't expect so much love to come at me. And not just at cons, but through my Facebook and Instagram and different things. I've just been overwhelmed with the amount of love, and it's been awesome.
Very nice. Very cool. Well, I know I know the fans are very happy to have you back in the Halloween universe and making public appearances, and are very excited to meet you. Were you surprised at the amount of Judith Myers related merchandise? I mean, the tombstone is iconic just in itself. Just people that haven't even seen that movie, they see that Judith Myers tombstone, and that's from Halloween, and because the images, and just the name Judith Judith has played such a important role in the franchise moving forward, even in the films that weren't about Judith, but that has been the pivotal moment, the first kill. So did that surprise you to learn what a landmark figure in horror that Judith Myers has become?
Yeah, I mean, of course, again, I had no idea that the tombstone was, such a big deal, and that Judith Myers, just herself, was a major thing about the Halloween franchise. So yeah, I mean, it's been amazing. And of course, I love the tombstone that Jennifer with Cemetery Haunts makes. She just makes the most beautiful one of all, just gorgeous
Nice.
quality. So I have two of those that she made. One I purchased, the other was a wonderful gift from her. So yeah, and then I have a large poster of the tombstone that I actually created, that I have on my website, that I sign for people, because not everybody can afford the actual tombstone.
Right.
So I thought, well, I'll make a poster of one that I can autograph and they can frame it. So that's done really well.
Very nice. Very cool. Yeah, I love that. And yeah, you've got your website up and running now, it looks like, and you've been doing some amazing photo shoots in recent years. I of course follow you on social media, and I love your posts, and you do some really awesome photo shoots, and I'm curious how that all came about, who your photographer is or are, and it looks like you've got the props now. You've got the masks and the tombstone, and it looks like you've even got your Judith outfit from the film in a lot of these photos. So can you tell me a little bit behind the scenes about how these photo shoots have been happening? Because I love the shots. I mean, you're recreating scenes and also just reimagining what could be things that we never could have seen in the film, but just some really cool stuff that you're posting on your Instagram and on Facebook all the time. And so can you tell me just a little bit about how all that came to be?
It started with Texas Frightmare Weekend. I was sitting at the table, and quite a number of fans kept saying, you need to be on social media so we can visit with you and get to know you more in between cons. So I thought about it, and I got some people to help me who were kind enough to help me set it all up. And I thought, after I got it up there, I said, well, this is great, but what am I going to put on here? I don't have 40 years of other movies of stuff. I had nothing really to put up there. And so I thought, all right, well, I'll do some glamour shots. So a photographer by the name of Josh Thatcher came out, and I thought, of course, I'll do some glamour shots, but that's probably not enough to keep their interest. So I thought, well, maybe I'll just do a few Halloween related things. So I had some ideas. I also put it out to the fans if they had any ideas. And I took some of their ideas, my ideas, and the photographer's ideas, and we just kind of did maybe a 4 or 5 hour shoot. And started putting it up, and the fans seemed to really like it. And so I realized very shortly that I needed more pictures. And so I called him back out. But before we did that, I spent a lot of time thinking of all the different ways that I could bring Judith back and Michael back, and how they could interact, and how he could stalk her, and all of those ideas, and all the locations that we could do it around the house and stuff. So that second shoot, it was also Josh, and that shoot was 10 hours.
Wow.
So it was, yeah,
Epic.
it was pretty intense. And I'm talking 10 hours of nonstop wardrobe changes and just craziness.
Wow.
And I got another friend. My husband was doing some Michaels, but I also wanted the 2018 Michael, because I love that mask. That's my favorite mask. And his head is too big. And so I had to get a friend who has a smaller head to do Michael for that. So I had 2 Michaels. Well, then I decided, after it was a year and a half or whatever, I said, okay, I need more pictures again. So I was going to be, I was actually going to do another film, and I decided not to do that film because there was some stuff associated with it. I just didn't like what was going on. So I didn't do the film, but it was originally going to be filmed at the Myers house in North Carolina. So when the film fell through, I thought, you know what? I'm going to contact Kenny, who owns that house, and see if there's any way I could do some photography there. So, of course, he was very excited. He said, absolutely. He said, not only can we do photography, we'll do an event. So last July, we drove our motorhome out there, and I actually stayed in Judith's room for 2 nights.
Perfect.
And we just had the best time. Kenny and Laura were just wonderful. And I had tons of ideas for shoots, for the shots. And Kenny had great ideas, and I got info from the fans again. And I got a couple of really wonderful Michaels from there. And we just had another, I think we did 2 days of shooting, plus the event with all the fans and stuff. So it was great. I got tons of wonderful photos, and again, just had a blast.
Awesome. And yeah, you mentioned the Myers house. I was going to bring that up. We're in North Carolina on the East Coast, on the Outer Banks of North Carolina, and but we've been to the Myers house, and we know Kenny, and we went there actually before, many years ago. It's been about 10 years now. Before we even, actually it was 10 years. It was 2011 when we went, and it was even before we had launched Halloween Daily News at that point. But we just went out there as fans, and when I heard that this guy had built a life-size replica of the Myers house in North Carolina, where I live, I'm like, okay, we have to go meet this guy and see this and what is going on. And of course, yeah, so we've just, we love Kenny, and we love the Myers house. And I do remember seeing you posting about going there and seeing some of those shots from the Myers house, and just an amazing event. I mean, isn't that just amazing what he did with just putting that lifestyle? I mean, that's his house, and it is the Myers house. It is so amazing.
Yeah, it was great. And of course, now he has that big movie screen outside.
Yeah.
So you can sit out, and it's like being at the drive-in, but you're sitting on the grass. It was just really fun. It's just such a great place. I'm looking forward to going back again.
Awesome. That's amazing. That's so perfect. Yeah, we love it out there. We need to get back out there for one of the screenings, because I haven't been out there since he's put up the big movie screen, but I know that would be awesome, and just completely epic. But yeah, I love those photo shoots. So keep them coming. I look forward to to the next batch. I know you're still probably got plenty that you to roll out here, but yeah, some of the ideas, and I love that it was a lot of it was from you, just yourself, and incorporating what fans have recommended, but that you actually took some time to think of how to, like you said, bring Judith back and incorporate everything. I think it's great. Knowing what you know now, post 2018, about how big this fandom is and this franchise and how passionate these fans are, what are your thoughts on why is Michael fascinated so many people? Why has that original film specifically stood the test of time? And this franchise is like Michael Myers, it's pretty unkillable. You know, I think it's proven, whether it's going to reinvent itself over and over, or pick up a sequel here and ignore the others, whatever they're going to do, I don't think it's going away anytime soon. Why do you think this franchise? What do you think the fascination is?
Wow. Well, Michael himself is so blank. I don't know what else to say. He's so blank. So he can be what anybody wants him to be. They can put their own monster inside of him, because he is just a monster that doesn't really have personality. So you can put your deepest fears inside that thing, right? So I think everybody looks at that mask and probably sees something a little bit different in his movements and stuff, and has a different type of fear from it, perhaps.
Mm-hmm.
Also, just the suspense and the stalking and the psychological stuff that goes on with him. And why sometimes he passes somebody by and yet then he kills the next person. You just don't know what he's going to do. So he's just a mystery, and we have no idea why he does it, or, I mean, if there is even a why. Mm-hmm. It's just an impulse. Who knows? I mean, he's just a scary, scary thing. Mm-hmm. I think, I mean, that for me, that's what it is. I mean, The Mask, I think, is terrifying. The original and the 2018 as well. There's just something about that mask that's just different than actually seeing their face or some of the other masks. There's just, the mask to me is just one of the things about it. And of course the knife is scary. Mm-hmm. But I don't know, the whole thing, the whole suspense and psychological stuff that goes with Michael, and the way he escapes, and then they try and help him, but there's nothing there. I don't know, it's just a great story.
Yeah. And obviously, you know, we talked about, you celebrated Halloween as a kid. I think now probably the season itself has taken on, since 2018, a whole new meaning for you, I imagine.
It definitely has. The other thing, I thought of another thing when I was little. My sisters were also very creative, and when Halloween would come, they always wanted to make my costumes. So they would and I mean, not just little simple stuff. I mean, they went all out.
Wow.
They made me this jack-o'-lantern once that, it had wire inside. It was like a big wire frame and had all the orange fabric on it and black tights and the whole deal. I mean, my one sister would take like a week to make my costume every year. So that was kind of cool too.
That's awesome. I love the homemade costumes. That's the genesis of cosplay, really, if you think about it. Those homemade costumes that
yeah.
If the you know, having appeared technically, I mean, you're in the 2018 film, and that's your canon still in every timeline of this franchise, whichever I say it's a choose your own adventure franchise, because you can really follow the sequels and however you want, but they all start the same with Judith. So if the producers were to come to you, would you ever be interested in appearing like in a cameo role as a different character in one of the new films?
Absolutely. Yes, I would. I know that the Halloween Kills, of course, is already finished,
Yes.
but I love to be in Halloween Ends. I know
Mm-hmm.
my agent has reached out. I don't know what they're thinking, but
Mm-hmm.
hopefully they'll think positively about it.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, maybe they're watching, and I know our audience would love to see it, and of course we're all very excited about so many of your co-stars from '78 that are going to be coming on as legacy characters for Kills, and who knows what's going to happen with Halloween Ends, but I know they did have PJ Souls, kind of do the voice cameo of the teacher in the 2018 film, so I was just I think fans would love to see, even though we did get to see Judith in 2018, to see Sandy in cameo, I think would be amazing. So that's
I
great
would
that
love it.
you'd be up for that. Awesome. I guess coming full circle now, what do you have going on right now or on the horizon? Do you have plans to do more acting now, or are you just looking forward to getting back to the conventions, or what's your plans for the future right now?
Well, I'm definitely looking forward to getting back into acting. I have a coach I work with virtually. He's in Hollywood,
Okay.
and I'm in Texas, so it's virtual. But I meet with him once a week, and we've done a lot of cool things. I'm working on a monologue now that I'll be putting up on my different casting sites
Okay.
pretty soon. I'm still working on it, hopefully next week or two. It's the first one I've done that's really a horror related one. I've
Oh,
done a
okay.
comedy, I've done a serious one, and this one will be horror related. So that's kind of fun. And then I have I did a cameo in the Hungarian film, Vulpes, The Lust for Revenge, which
Okay.
is still in pre-production, but I'm looking forward to that one. I think it's going to be good. The prologue to it was really good.
Okay.
And then the next one is Creeps at the Gym, which is the first one's Hungarian, the other one is from UK. So I haven't been able to film it yet because you can't go to the UK
Yeah.
right now. So as soon as that all gets better, I'll go to For the Love of Horror in UK at that convention, and then I'll shoot the movie while I'm there. And I have a bigger part in it. It's good. It's more than a cameo.
Oh, wow. Awesome. Very cool. And did you say, is that a horror project as well?
It is. Both of those are horror films.
Very cool. Very cool. Well, I know your fans and our audience is going to love hearing about that and look for both of those films.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it and more. I hope to get more.
Yeah, well, that's great to hear that you're back into acting and looking to do more, because I think the horror audience is very excited to have you back on the scene.
And I'm excited to be back.
Awesome. Well, I can't thank you enough for talking to me today. I mean, this has been just a total blast.
Well, thank you so much for having me. I've enjoyed it.
Huge thanks to Sandy Johnson for such a great interview. Be sure to subscribe to our channel if you haven't already. Lots more exciting content and exclusive interviews are on the way. I promise you don't want to miss it. Until then, I'm Matt Arts for Halloween Daily News. Thank you for watching.